Dr. Metzner, you have said, "Well, it now appears that I can count myself among the intelligent and credible people who have been saying that the collapse of our global civilization is a distinct possibility. What do you see as a possible future?"
Okay, so that statement actually was my comment that I sent out on the email, and it was somewhat distributed on the internet in response to an article, a newspaper article, newspaper magazine article, which I can't remember what it was said, where it's made that statement. A fair number of intelligent and credible people are now saying that collapse of civilization is a distinct possibility. So I was happy to be able to, because I've been saying that for some time, so I was happy to be able to count myself among credible, intelligent people, according to that article.
Okay.
So, what I have also said in a film that has been made is that I said that what I call the techno-industrial Western civilization, which is basically spread around the globe now, is focused on industry, technology and industry, is simultaneously globalizing and collapsing. And it's globalizing by the processes called globalization, of expanding this idea of so-called free trade and free markets all over the world. But it isn't really, there's a lot of show and deception in that, because it's not really free trade. It's free trade for capital at the expense of everything else, at the expense of workers and laborers and environment. So it's collapsing because simultaneously more and more people are sinking into absolute poverty. Something like 1/3 of the entire population of the planet lives in absolute poverty. Now, is that civilization? I don't know, but I don't think so. And the environment, habitats all over the world are being destroyed. Species are being just driven into extinction. That can't possibly be the meaning of civilization. And war, people say collapse of civilization. No, you're exaggerating or you're an extremist. And it's hard to believe, because here we are, we're living in a relatively benign, calm environment, and people are obeying laws. But go to Baghdad or go to Palestine, where you can't send your child to school without the possibility of it being hit by a missile, or you can't walk in the streets and corpses are lying around in the street every day by the hundreds, and or go to large cities like Manila or Mexico City, where tens of thousands of families are living permanently on a trash dump. Is that civilization? I don't think so. I think that what we're seeing is a descent into barbarism. Barbarism and war is the opposite of civilization. You can't have a civilization if you're having a war. It's the opposite. It means the collapse. Now, the word collapse is, and I've actually stopped saying that, because I think it's more complex, because collapse sounds very sudden. It's like overnight or within a few weeks or days. But it's a slow disintegration at different rates at different parts of the planet. I think civilization is kind of collapsing, disintegrating even here, even in relatively civilized places, slowly and without too much disruption, although that may change. Because and in other places it's already collapsed, and some habitats have already degraded and are no longer visible. The entire Aral Sea in central Russia is dry, so you have ships sitting on dry land. They can't navigate the sea. So huge sectors of the environment, rainforests are being cut down, are already collapsed. And so we're making changes that are affecting the global climate. That's going to affect people all over the world, and people in ways that we don't know. Now, James Lovelock, who's, after all, a scientist who invented the Gaia theory, who has credibility, he says, we have like 20 years. We've passed all the tipping points. We're moving into a period of extreme global fever and heat, where only the Arctic Circle will basically be habitable. Now, other people have other scenarios and say, well, it's going to be the northern hemisphere is going to freeze and be cold because the thermohaline currents of the North Atlantic are not going to heat Europe and east coast of North America, and so people are going to be freezing and needing to migrate south. Nobody knows, basically. There are all these scenarios. They're not fantasies. These are scenarios being spun out and published and written and discussed by serious scientists. So I think I would say the disintegration, the slow motion or varying motion disintegration of civilization is something that political, economic, environmental collapse is what we're looking at. We're in a situation where, analogous to the Titanic, has already hit the iceberg. It's too late not to hit the iceberg. That's already happened. Now, it's like, what's going to survive? And what I believe is going to survive are small, local, regional, bioregional communities that devote themselves to sustainability, cooperative living arrangements, bringing their, having their energy come from local sources, whether solar, wind, geothermal, tidal, and committed to nonviolence. The commitment to nonviolence is, to me, the absolute foundation of all civilization. And this is not anything original of my part. This is the teaching of Martin Luther King. It's the teaching of Gandhi. It's the teaching of Jesus of Nazareth. It's the teaching of the Buddha. Nonviolence has to be the foundational principle, not an option that we try sometime along the line after we've tried violence and war. That's ridiculous. It has to be the foundational. You never violate it. All the spiritual teachings of the world basically agree on that. And this is the challenge. Can we do it? And I think it can be done on a local, and it starts with every individual, every family, every community, in a step-by-step way. And there are many wise and experienced elders and people that have accumulated the knowledge and the practical knowledge and technologies and methods that we can use to move us into another kind of civilization that nevertheless is going to look very, very different than the one we've presently got.